I wonder what else I can make. Greetings, fellow fidgeters, and welcome to Epically Geeky Makers. I'm your host, Eugene Stevens. I know the fidget spinner fad is pretty much played out at this point. We've gotten the stories about how they can kill you and how they're not good for you and blah, 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 blah. As an adult who fidgets a lot, I actually find they're actually pretty helpful for me, especially whenever I'm recording the show, Epically Geeky Show, live Saturday nights on YouTube. But yeah, to have something in my hand that I can mess with, especially while I'm doing the show or working on the computer or something, it's actually pretty soothing and actually kind of helps me focus. I've made several fidget spinners. I've sold quite a few of them to teachers here and there, but I wanted to start getting into customizing them and seeing what else I could do with them besides just the very basic spinner with a thumb pad. As a Ghostbusters fan, I wanted to come up with a Ghostbusters style spinner, and I didn't want it to just be, a certain color or have stickers or something on it, because that's kind of lame, to be honest with you. So I came up with this. This is a spinner that roughly looks like the cyclotron on the back of a proton pack. And the idea is basically this is just a very large thumb pad with the holes in it so you can see it, and then of course a red spinner on the inside. And the effect you get when you spin it mimics somewhat like it looks whenever the cyclotron is spinning. Not bad. I thought it was okay. I've also seen where people have started making gears and turning those into spinners, which is really interesting to me, especially trying to figure out how to make the gear and make the teeth fit and everything else, because I've got some really cool ideas for that later on. That being said, I have made a couple of gear spinners, and I wanted to make a customized version of one as well. And I was trying to think about it, what would I do, what kind of fits with gears, and of course, it is Gears of War. I loved the game on the Xbox 360. It was a ton of fun. I was a big fan of it, so I decided to come up with this. This is a Gears of War style spinner. Now, it does actually have the gears themselves as they turn. You can see they all move. And as you can see there on the outside edge, we have these teeth that kind of mimic the Lancer's chainsaw blade. Doesn't spin as well as the other spinners do. It's because it's got these gears that are going around. You can also do this really interesting thing where you just kind of take it in your hand and you just fidget with it. You just spin it slowly in your hand. And it just feels kind of weird because you've got all these little gears and spikes spinning in your hand, but it's actually very soothing, very interesting. So with that said, let's get to making it. I started with the basic fidget spinner that I've used for all my other projects. Then I started working on the cyclotron. I wanted to make sure this thing could be printed in multiple pieces for the different colors so that the shock mount, or the little gray part in the center, would be separate. It also served as the pin that I used to actually connect it to the bearing. For the gear spinner, the first thing I had to do was to actually figure out how to make a gear. Once I had that figured out, I could move on to the rest of the parts. I created the little edge pieces on the side so that I kind of got the chainsaw effect on the main part. I had to go through a couple of iterations of this to make sure that the gears would line up correctly and that there was enough space for them to still turn. For the Ghostbusters spinner, you're going to need the 3D printed cyclotron, the 3D printed bottom, the 3D printed spinner, the 3D printed pin, a 608ZZ bearing, and 3 5x16-18 hex nuts. For the gear spinner, you're going to need 2 of the 3D printed spinners, 3 of the 3D printed gears, a 3D printed center gear, 2 3D printed thumb pads, and 5 608ZZ bearings, a mallet, pair of pliers, and a file. The spinner is designed to be an extremely tight fit for the bearing. That's why you'll have to use a mallet. The nuts, on the other hand, can slide in easily. Take the pin and push it all the way through the top part, or the cyclotron. You might want to put some glue on it just to make sure it sticks properly. After that, simply push the spinner down onto the bottom plate, push the top part in, and you're done. For the gear spinner, start by putting the bearings in. Once again, you'll probably need a mallet to get it in there. Next, you're going to need to put the bearings into the gears. These are extremely tight and may take a little bit of work. Some of them are a little bit easier to get in there, but I've also had them in there previously and just took it apart for, this demonstration. I try to design all my pieces so that there's as little overhang as possible and it doesn't need much support material. The reason for this is it usually comes out kind of stringy on the bottom and I have to end up sanding it anyway. I think that's probably because of the program I'm using, which is Print Studio, which came with my 3D printer. I really want to upgrade to Simplify 3D because I think it will solve that issue. In the meantime, I created the gears so that there's breakaway material so that you shouldn't get as much stringy parts on the bottom. You will still need to sand it with a file a little bit, but this is a lot better than, how it turns out normally. Once you get the center gear prepped, you can go ahead and attach it to the bottom part of the spinner. You can then put on the 3 gear spinners and make sure all the teeth match correctly. Put the other side on, make sure it works, add your thumb pads, and you're done. Hope you enjoyed this episode. It was a lot of fun making these. Because they have moving parts, I had to really work at trying to get these just right. Trying to get something that moves takes a lot more work and planning to get it done. That being said, most of the stuff that I make, I put down below the link to it in Thingiverse, where you can download it for free and build it, make it. Hopefully you enjoy it. I'm actually trying something a little different this time. I'm hoping to start selling some of the 3D plans that I come up with, and I'm going to start selling them on Etsy. So I will put links to that down in the bottom. Don't worry, I will make them super cheap, I understand. But there are plenty of other free spinner and gear spinner plans on Thingiverse, so if you want a free version, you can go to Thingiverse, you can download them, you can find them there, they're good to go. But if you want these specific models, the ones that specifically look like this, I'm just asking for just a little bit of money, just so that it helps support this hobby of mine, as it were. As always, please make sure to like this video. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to the channel. It really does help us out. And please, please, please share the video. Get it out there. Let other people see it. Really does help us out and really helps motivate me to keep making stuff and sharing it with y'all. That's it for this episode. See you next time on Epically Geeky Makers.